I took off on Daniels Mountain at 12:30, landed in Old Wreck Mountain 2.5 hours later, just past Old Wreck. Let's zoom in. At the beginning, there was a stiff southwest wind. I boarded around. Other pilots went with the wind in the back, drifted and went pretty high and went on cross country. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have a nice thermal out of the valley and get to 4,000 feet just above the ridge. For me, it's more comfortable. If the thermal is small, it will drift with the wind. If you have a big, massive thermal, it just will go up and block the wind. Today was smaller, so there was a lot of drift. I go straight from my 4,000 to this high plateau where there's houses, and there's typically a lee side thermal. Works very well. You can see here that I don't lose too much height and go to those houses on top, and it gives me a thermal. There's an antenna just in front. There's also the road 33 goes up into the mountains. Here I'm looking to Daniels in the back and Route 33. Just went past the antenna to those houses on top and zooming up. Next you have two options. You go to this mountain and you soar it up, or you fly open over Kinderhook and you connect to these mountains. There was a nice convergence of clouds here, but if you went too deep, it wasn't really working, or it would get really probably windy. I decided to stay open, but there was a nice cloud at this ridge over here next to the Kinderhook mountain. It's like an elevator, works really well. I took that and went to 5,000 feet. To the left in the mountain, see the clouds, that's the convergence. Right in front of me, that little mountain is Kinderhook. And to the left, that's where I went up. That really helped me to cross this area over here, going to Graves Mill. If you don't go high, you can try to go up at this mountain. But if it's really windy, it's really tricky. Felix did it today and he mastered it. He went up. Cyrus, he had to land over here. I wanted to avoid this area because it's very windy. It's not so easy. Right in front, in the middle of the screen, you see that mountain that you can soar up and go high. But it has a Venturi, and down below you can see there's landing, so it's doable. But again, the other option is going straight, and I wanted to do that, but it's a one shot. If you miss the cycle, it's going to be really difficult. But I would connect to this point over here. We had one pilot going here and didn't go to this point, but took a turn. It's this point what I mean. This point is where you go up, sorry, this point. He turned before that point and he landed in this valley. So I would definitely go to this point over here as a trigger and go up and just follow this ridge with the southwest wind. You would go to 5,000 feet and you would also be able to go to Graves Mill. So here, 5,000, cross that valley over here. Important is that if you don't go up at this ridge here, and actually I didn't go to this ridge, I stayed a little bit in front. This is the top of the ridge which you would soar, but because there's so much wind, it's not so good. It's going to be a Venturi. So I always try to stay in front, and that helped, and I got up. Eventually back to 5,000. In the back I had a lee side thermal. If you don't go up, people will jump to this one, Graves Mill. Really difficult, Venturi, don't go high. If you go over the back low, you need to connect to the thermal over here, lee side, connect to this mountain. It's possible, but it's all very tricky. If you don't go up, you will probably land Graves Mountain. So for me, I went really high, 5,000, but then, you know, the juice was kind of over to the end of my flight. You see, I didn't go high anymore. So here I'm in the valley, and to my left is Graves Mill. I tried to fly a little bit in front and go up from the current of this valley instead of on the ridge. So I got higher here, and then if I look in the back, you see actually to my right, that's Gravesmill, that's an area that you want to avoid, too low. So I got really high here, and then you're on a good line to go to Old Wreck Mountain. So Old Wreck Mountain is ahead of us, and down below the valley to the right, that's Graves Mountain Lodge. So the mountain in front of you gives also. It was very shady here, so that's why I had to wait and lost a lot of height. There's two ways to go to Old Wreck Mountain. Old Wreck Mountain is right over here. The first one is you connect to this a pyramid. You don't see it, but it's kind of a pyramid. And then connect to this here, and then your Old Wreck. The other one is, George showed that, there's a peak over here. There's a good thermal coming here, and you go up. I tried that, and it gave some bubbles. And I went into the second peak over here. There's a winery, and that whole valley gives. I wasn't really going high because of the wind. I didn't want to go to Old Wreck, so I stayed open. And eventually went to this mountain, which I soared. I had a sync cycle and I landed. The birds were not really going up, but the birds were going up in front here and here. I arrived there, had no thermal before, so it's just bad timing. But if you go up here, and you can go deeper, but there's not a lot of landings, then the next step is another thermal, and then you get to Sperryville, which is right over here. So here I'm flying with Gravesmill in the back, and if you look in the front, you will see Graves Mountain Lodge right in front of you, and far back you see Old Wreck already popping up, and that's where I'm gonna go. So here I'm flying above Graves Mountain Lodge, and it's very shady, so just have to hover around, try to stay up till the sun comes back. If I look in the front, I want to go to Old Wreck Mountain. There's two ways, the red dot pyramid or the blue one, the smaller one that George once showed. So you have two options. So I took the blue route. I'm already over that little pyramid, flying in the back, and there is a winery that is a hidden valley, and it gives thermals. I keep flying the line next to the trees and the beginning of Old Wreck Mountain to avoid windy conditions on top of Old Wreck Mountain, not going really high. So here I'm at the last mountain before I land. Actually, I land in front. Tried to go up, but it doesn't work. There was big thermals in front, but I couldn't reach it anymore. So eventually I land just beyond that pond in a big field, and then there's a road going to Old Wreck, so there's a lot of people going home, and you can hitchhike there. There's many roads to Old Wreck Mountain. Just wanted to give you some tips, and this is a recap of my video here. Best to leave the site at 4,000 feet. You can fly to this high plateau here with houses. Next, you can connect to the mountains, but it's very windy. You might want to open up. You can choose your luck here, and a lot of pilots do that successfully. Go straight at southwest. Or you can go to the mountains, elevator up, and cross that in one stretch. Then at Gravesmill, don't go over here, but stay in front. Take this thermal, works much better. Next, to cross to Old Wreck Mountain, you can take the pyramid over here, connects over the trees to Old Wreck Mountain, or you can take this little triangle over here, and you will circle up also to Old Wreck. I stayed in the front because I didn't want to go there because of the wind.